Hi, fellow traders. What's happening? First, I want to thank you guys that hung out with me on YouTube this morning. And I hate that it was a really, really slow morning. It just wasn't one of those mornings like we had yesterday or the day before. Not as exciting as I would have liked it to be. So, we're going to do this again next week. Hopefully, we'll get a good day, get some good activity, and we'll be moving forward. So stay tuned for that. All right, so I had to put myself on the bench. All right, and there's an art to sitting on the bench. And I wrote a blog about this very same thing. It's going to be posted later on. But it's called the art of sitting on a bench. Because as a competitive athlete, sitting on a bench is the last place you want to be during a competition or a game. You put in all these long hours, you've made all these sacrifices to get to where you are. To just waste all of that while you're sitting on the bench is unbearable. The truth is, sometimes being on the bench is the best thing for you. Now, I've been a starter, I've been a bench warmer, and honestly, I've learned more sitting on the bench observing than I did actually playing in the game. So here's what I learned. As a bench player, I actually put in more work. The starters usually have more talent and the game seems to come easier to them. Or they put in all of this work ahead of you. So it just seems like it's easy to them. So to keep up and match their ability, I had to put in overtime. As time passed, I found myself closing that gap between me and the person or people that were ahead of me. And there were times when I personally felt that I surpassed them. And the coach told me before I graduated, my senior year, it was maybe a week or two before graduation. I was just roaming around the school. And he told me that he felt I was the most valuable player on the team whenever I came off the bench. Because whenever I came in the game, I was always ready physically, but more importantly, mentally. That I knew how I wanted to attack the other teams and their defense, and how I wanted to play the person guarding me and that I was guarding. So he was like, I hated to start you this year. I really wanted you coming off the bench. That's why I needed you the most. But, it was pretty cool to hear that. But I realized sitting and watching the game as it unfolded allowed me to sharpen my mental and cognitive skills. I had no idea that the coach noticed that and understood that what I was doing. But I was a kid and he was an adult, so I'm going to think that. But I felt that this was a big equalizer between me and anyone who had more talent or who was that much better than me. Because I was able to study the opponent's defense and how they rotated and the weakness each defender had. So it was my turn to go in. I could be very effective. I also learned how to be patient and trust the process. The coach knew the talent he had on the team. He knew the strengths and weaknesses of all of us players. He developed the game plan based on the data that he had, the information that he had about all of us. He had to figure out how each of his players stacked up against the competition and how to come up with a game plan to take advantage of our strengths while negating the strengths of our opponents. I had to learn to trust that he knew how to best use my talents to help the team achieve its objectives. And if it was coming off the bench, then I just had to be patient and wait for my opportunity to come in and shine. So when I became a starter, I knew that if I wasn't performing or living up to the talent that my coach depended on me to display, I was going to sit on the bench for a while. And that happened a lot because I was not a good starter. But it just so happens that I had that was the role I had to play. But one thing I knew, and I knew that the coach knew, that I was able to observe and use that time to correct any errors that I was making, and observe the team and come up with a game plan for myself to take advantage of my strengths while going in and trying to exploit their weaknesses so I could be effective. All right, so I know now, by now, it's like, what the hell does this have to do with trading the stock market? Well, here it goes. In the market, we will run into other traders who are just as talented, more talented than we are, more funded than we are, more educated than we are. And it will seem to us that everything they do just comes easier, that it's effortless. They move in and out of trades like so effortlessly, no matter whether they win or lose. And honestly, I get that all the time. It's like, man, you make it look so easy. You make it look so effortless. But you just don't understand how much work, how much blood, sweat, and tears I had to go through to get to this point. I'm trying to give you guys everything so that you don't have to go through that as much as I had to. That you could shorten that learning curve and still get everything that you need. So, sometimes when you feel this way, when you start to feel this way about somebody, and, you feel yourself getting mad at them, and that happens too, sometimes it's best for you just to take a step back, sit out that session, and just observe. Sometimes you're going to realize you need to put in extra work. You need to put in that extra screen time, that extra study time, extra mentoring time. You'll just like, I need extra. Whatever it is, I know I need extra. So, but then there are going to be times where you can't seem to do anything right. You can't enter right. You can't exit right. You keep making simple mistakes that eventually you get mad at yourself, and it just compounds into larger mistakes. You'll begin to doubt yourself. You'll start blaming the market, your broker, your computer, even me. You get the idea. So benching yourself, sitting out trading sessions, or just taking a time out is going to give you the opportunity to really look at the market with an open and clear mind. You'll be able to get a feel for the order flow, the volatility, the range in which the stock moves. You'll have a mental edge over other traders in the market, and you'll be able to take advantage of their mistakes while successfully executing your game plan in the market. Same stuff I learned on the basketball court. Same stuff. And it relates. So, don't feel bad if you have to bench yourself. Some of the best players in the world get benched when they're not performing up to their standards, and the coach needs them to come back and regroup. So if you use that time wisely on that bench, it's going to become one of the most important tools you're going to possess as a trader. Believe it or not, it will be. So I put myself on the bench, and I'm going to show you what I observed by doing that. So we're going to look at one of the trades from yesterday. Okay, BA. We've been tackling BA all week. I was determined to figure this thing out. But as you can see, it just kind of fooled me. And I turned around and rushed the trade. All right, I wanted to trade BA. Okay, I had in my mind, I wanted to trade BA no matter what. And so here was a 5-minute opening range low. This is the true 5-minute opening range low. But typically, when I get a long wick like this, I go to the body. Well, if you've heard me talk before, one of the reservations I have about when you get a long wick and the body is this small, it's probably not a good idea to take the trade. But sometimes you forget. We're human. We forget little seemingly mundane details. All right. And the only way we're going to be able to figure out what's going on is to stop, take a step back, and kind of look at what's going on. And by me doing this, I realized exactly what I did. And it's part of reflection. I got in under the pre-market low, but that's not the strategy. The strategy is not getting in on a pre-market low. The strategy is the 5-minute opening range. And if I was trading the 5-minute opening range breakdown, I never should have taken this trade, because looking at the body of that candle, that's a no-go. You walk away from that. You come back later on and you take the trade. And later on, this is when I quit. This is when I put myself on the bench right after 10 o'clock. I quit trading because I realized this, after 2 or 3 days of doing the same thing, I needed to stop and try to figure out what was going on. So if you look at a chart, if you go back and look at BA chart from yesterday, you'll see that after this, it finally broke down and it sold off 10 points. I think I might have the hold on, I might have the, we'll take a look at the chart. I got the chart here. Hold on a second. All right, let's go. What are we looking for? Oh, this ain't the right one. Sorry. God dog it. I don't know. All right, here it is. Getting the wrong chart, man. BA. Now, you can see this is yesterday. I needed to blow this up. You can see this is yesterday. This is the action I got caught up in. If I had just been patient and waited for things to settle and break down, 10-point move here. 10-point move. And I was there. I had the right thesis. I knew this stock was going to break down. I just needed to be patient and wait for it to really give me the right signal. And by then, I was already out of the game. I was already on the bench. But sitting back observing this, I realized I'm rushing. I'm rushing the entry. Okay, this is just a rushed entry. And instead of waiting for this thing to play out like it needed to, I just jumped in. Roku, another trade. Now, this one isn't that bad. I'm not going to complain so much about this, but I still didn't apply the right strategy on the opening range breakdown. This was still an early entry, and I still felt like I rushed this a little. Not as bad as the first one, but if you're after 10 o'clock, the traditional opening range breakdown strategy, it's just, you can't trade that because you're 30 minutes in, the volatility is lower, and it may be choppy. So here's Roku. I get short here. What I'm supposed to do after 10 o'clock, if you're trading the opening range, you wait for this candle to close. And then you wait for the next candle to make a lower low, confirming that you're trading below this level. And then you get in. So I rushed this entry again. I didn't wait for this candle to close, and I never would have been in this trade. So another stock that I was rushing, I just felt like I wasn't in tune with the market. And so sitting on the bench yesterday, sitting back, just observing and watching and then reflecting on things, I was able to figure out I'm just rushing. That's all it is. I'm rushing. And the reason why is because what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, that if you don't nail the open, then it's hard for you to get stuff during the rest of the day. So I was so hell bent now on trying to nail the open that I was nailing myself. And today was the first day I kind of tried to rectify it. Here's the trade on BA. I waited. We weren't after 10 o'clock. I kind of waited for this to break down. Here's the opening range low right here. I didn't mark it on here. But here's the opening range low right here. And I had to wait until we got below this pre-market low right here. And so I got in. The other issue was the platform was really sketchy. It was lagging, and I really shouldn't have been trading. I was trying to get in. This was on short sale restriction. I was trying to get in. It was really frustrating. But I finally got an entry which I could work with. But it turned around on me, stopped me out. I stopped out according to plan and just sat back and waited for this thing to come back to me. And, you guys saw, if you were in chat, you saw how patient I was. Now, if you were in the live stream this morning, you saw this happen. You saw the issues I was having. And it probably would have been a smart thing not to trade. But I didn't rush. I waited. I gave this thing time to really settle down. I thought, but I don't know if it was I wasn't seeing it right or I wasn't getting the right feel because the platform was kind of iffy. But it was just a crazy morning this morning, really volatile, really crazy, and I think the platforms kind of felt it. But waited, got the rejection here. I thought about getting in here. We were looking at it here. And I'm like, no, because I want this thing to turn around. I want this thing to bounce and reject against the 9 or the 20. I just needed it to reject against a solid level of resistance that I could base the trade off of. And we finally got the bounce here. It wasn't as clean of a bounce as I liked, but the 9 held, or the 9 rejected every time. It tried once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times it touched the 9 and just could not get over it. But we got in. I think this was as perfect an entry as I could get. I had to wait until we got under this level because you could see how strong this level was. So I had to wait till we got in. It did bounce back a little bit, but then we just started nailing targets. First target was the low of this bounce pullback. Second target, the low of this pullback. Fourth target was going to be how low can you go. But after this big move here, I thought, hey, we may be running out of steam. So I took some off here. We did bounce. This was a perfect add spot. But I didn't add. And I ended up, I was getting ready to put in my change my stop. And I accidentally took the damn trade off. But it really didn't go any further than 120. And once I saw it right here, I knew this trade was dead. We bounced here. We came back and double tapped it. This thing held up. You could tell in the price action that if you tried to short this again, you weren't going to make anything out of it. So I honestly didn't really give up that much. So I felt pretty good about it. And to close out the day with this solid of a trade, and after the day that I had, the couple days that I've had, and trying to force and rush things, I felt today was a big step in the right direction and a direct result of me sitting on the bench and just watching and observing. So that's it for me today. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer, but hopefully the message will resonate with you. Hopefully it will help you become a better trader. That's my whole point in doing all of this. If it doesn't help you, don't watch it, because then all you're going to do is get mad at me. So if it helps you, keep watching. All right, guys. So that's it. I'm wrapping it up. Got 318.22 today. Could have easily been a $500-$600 day. Really easily could have been a $600 day. Without this stop out. But I don't think I messed up on this one. I think the only thing that probably hurt me was the platform, and it's my fault because I made the decision to trade, so it's my responsibility. So I'll just eat that. All right, guys. So have a great night, a great evening, and we'll get back at it in the morning. Hopefully we can finish this week strong. And, this is the first couple of days of April, so I don't want to start the week off on a sour note, this month off on a sour note. So this was a split week. The first 2 days went to March. These last 3 days go to April. So I don't want to start April out like I started March out. So we're going to keep working at it. All right, guys. See you in the morning.